All right, we are officially recording. My name is Jamie J. Welcome to the Blab session here featuring Ani Alexander. And she is going to be talking about her story on Blab and how she was able to so effectively market. Holy cow, someone is going crazy there on the props. I guess that's their way of advertising here. Anyways, I wanted to go ahead and okay, cool. I got the message. But I wanted to go ahead and introduce Ani to everybody, have her tell the story of what she's done, show some of the, she'll talk about, some of the things that's happened since she started her blab, how many more Twitter followers she got, all that kind of stuff. And then we'll open it up to some questions so that Ani can answer your questions. So Ani, without any further ado, and by the way, if you can, tell the little bird there, thanks Don DeBrita, thank you Melissa Reyes. Really, really appreciate that. And if you can do a quick shout out for us, we'd love to get some more people on the call here. I'm thinking the call is going to be around 30 minutes today. So, or the blab, I should say, is going to be around 30 minutes today. So we look forward to hopefully having you stay on the line a little bit here, listen to our story, and then come on in, ask some questions so that we can help you improve your blab status. So without any further ado, go ahead, Ani.
Okay. So actually about 3 years ago, I left my corporate job with absolutely no plans about what I was going to do next. So eventually I became a fiction writer and wrote 3 books since then. And later on, I sort of, was investigating different options about online presence, personal branding, and stuff like that. So as a result, I came up with my podcast, which is called Write to Be Read podcast, and it's for writers. And also what I did was I ended up with my own online business, which is providing self-publishing services for writers. And it's called Publish My Book Today. And of course, we were looking for all these options of growing audience, gaining visibility, so people know your brand, so people actually come and you have this ideal tribe that follows you, and you have engagement and interaction and stuff like that. So I'm kind of an opportunistic person, so I tried pretty much anything new that was coming out, and of course, Periscope came out earlier than Blab, and I tried that and I absolutely hated it because it wasn't at all in line with my personality. So I was really stressed. I didn't like the idea of talking to a screen. I avoided videos at all costs because I wasn't very comfortable with being on video. So I kind of, I tried several times and I realized it's not for me. And when Blab came out, of course, it's video, it's live streaming again. So I was a bit reluctant about that. But I decided to try anyway to make sure that I tried before saying no to that. And when I did, it actually did one thing. After a very short period of time, first of all, I stopped avoiding video and live streaming because it wasn't that scary anymore. And I didn't care how I looked anymore. And the other thing was I couldn't believe how much more engagement did this platform have than anything else that I tried before. So I ended up actually getting my podcast audience into Blab. So I actually saw the faces of people who were listening to my podcast for over a year. And I created a deeper relationship with these people because I could see them, I could talk to them, I could engage with them. I was getting feedback about the podcast, about what to do in order to get, a better content, to provide better content to them, what they need, how to make things better and stuff like that. But besides that, what Blab brought to me was, except these amazing connections with new people I met on Blab, also it brought me a completely new audience of people who didn't listen to my podcast, who didn't read my blog, who didn't read my books, and had no clue about me, but who found out about me on Blab initially. And then later on, they started kind of, researching and got into the other things that I was doing. So Blab for me, actually, besides the healing pill against my scare of videos, also brought me a bigger audience, grew my podcast, and created higher engagement with the audience I already had. That is why I really love Blab.
Awesome. There you go. I muted because I want to make sure that when I type, it's not coming out over your talking there. And I'm going to be trying to moderate as we go through this a little bit. So it's a pretty cool story. So you in essence help people get their books self-published. Is that right?
Well, I mean, my company published my book today with my business partner, Jyotsna, is providing self-publishing services to writers. So it covers everything that needs to be done to a book from the moment its first draft is written until it is actually published.
Fantastic. So what's really cool about Blab is I think you can come on Blab, and this live streaming in Blab is amazing because you can basically have any background and come on Blab and be able to share that and find a new audience and meet more people that I don't think you really could have on, it's kind of like, are you familiar with Zoom? Have you ever heard that Zoom or seen the Zoom?
I heard, but I didn't try it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So basically Zoom is like a live conference type software. And basically what it is, it has all these pictures of all these different people, and you can have up to like 25, I think, on the first version, but you can have all these different people participating via video, which is really cool. But what I like about Blab is that it has kind of that same feel where you can do all the different videos, but you have to add in the live streaming element, which is kind of the Periscope effect. So I say it's a great cross between Periscope and Zoom. And so what you're able to do here is tell your story, meet new people, share ideas via video, which I think is incredible. And then if you're hosting it, you can get the MP3, which is the audio file, and the MP4, which is the video file, and get that automatically sent to you so that you can share that either on your blog or share it on Facebook or your social media, stuff like that. So I really think that that's cool. And before we go into your story about Blab, I just wanted to mention that so that people that are just getting started with Blab can really understand that the power of Blab and how much fun it is and getting to meet new people. And just like right now, I'm in Ozark, Missouri at 11 o'clock in the morning, and I'm talking with you, Ani, all the way over there at 9 p.m. at night. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's amazing. It kind of, puts out all the barriers and limits and kind of, makes you meet people you would otherwise never meet, most probably.
Exactly. So I was really, really impressed with your story and what you did on Blab and how you tracked it, which is really cool too. I want to let everybody know, when you start out on something like this, especially when you're an early adopter, and I would still consider people that are on Blab now early adopters of this platform, but it's really cool to track your progress, find ways to see, okay, this is where I'm starting. And some of the things that you can do to start out is, okay, this is how many Twitter followers I have. This is how many, you could just go and get a baseline, right? But I guess my question to you is, what did you do when you first started out so that you could actually track your progress?
Well, actually, I didn't track from the very beginning, to be honest. I started tracking it when I realized that I was getting some kind of results, because for me, Blab was just an experiment. It wasn't anything strategic. I was just trying it out. And at some point, I realized that I'm seeing some, a really big growth with my podcast. I'm seeing like how my email list is growing, and it was much faster than usual. So I realized I started going back and trying to understand what I was doing differently from before. And I realized that the only change up to then has been me being on Blab. as a new experiment. So that is when I started actually tracking the thing and trying to see this, this connection between Blab and the new positive results that I was starting to get. And so I didn't really track from the very beginning, but maybe it doesn't make big difference, because in the very beginning I was mainly lurking and trying to figure out how things worked. I was watching other blabs, I wasn't really doing my own and stuff like that. So basically, I guess from the moment I started actually tracking the things, that's when it when it really started picking up.
Fantastic. So can you tell us some of the stats that you've achieved, that you've recorded along the way from what Blab has been able to produce for you?
Well, I can tell you like the average of the first 60 days that I've been on Blab. And the thing is that it actually doubled my podcast listens number. So actually, and by that, it gave me the opportunity to actually even do only one podcast a week instead of two. I was doing two, and now even with one, I'm getting much more listens than when I was doing two before. So actually, I ended up having like a double traffic, a double listenership for the podcast by doing, twice less work for the podcast, which is like, really cool. So, which means that if I kept two episodes per week, maybe the difference would be even bigger. But I just, I realized that, I'm okay with these results too. And since I'm being overwhelmed right now with, I have many big changes coming in my life soon. So I'm kind of, taking it slow. So I decided that it's really nice to have a bigger traffic and larger audience by doing it much less, like just, twice less work for it. So the podcast has grown twice.
Wow, that's amazing. Because something with regards to podcasting, I've seen a lot of podcasters getting involved in Blab. It's kind of like a I don't know. It's a good extension of podcasting, I think, in my opinion. We are kind of podcasting right now, if you think about it.
It's not different than the video podcast, I guess, besides the with the bonus of this live stream element in it, because otherwise what's the difference, right? I could have interviewed you and recorded the video file and put on YouTube, and it would be a video podcast, I guess.
Right. And so what's the name of your podcast, by the way? We have Roger Castle here asking what the name of your podcast is.
It's Right to be Read.
Right to be Read. Oh, cool.
Yes.
So yeah. And are you in iTunes and all that?
Yes, iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn. Yeah, pretty much everywhere.
Sweet. So if someone was to just come on Blab right now, and they wanted to kind of figure out, okay, what is this all about? Is that something that you might be able to help them out with?
Oh yeah, definitely. It's kind of, Blab has been created so that it's pretty much intuitive. So I kind of, I usually don't really talk too much about the technical stuff, because it's very easy to figure out. It's not really that complicated, like, the creating and scheduling a Blab and stuff like that. All that is pretty much straightforward. What I prefer actually telling people about is more, how to position themselves, how to act on Blab, like, how to be themselves, and how to make sure that you engage with the sidebar, and when you're getting messages, you reply and stuff like that. So it's more like not really Blab specific technical stuff, but more about how to create relationships, how to position yourself, how to make sure that people get the same consistent message from you. So when they see see you on Blab, they know who you are, what you're about, and what you're doing, and what kind of image do you have. And definitely that can't be different from your real self, because you can't really pretend on Blabs, because even if you do, and you're a great actress, you can just hang in there for 10-15 minutes, but sooner or later your real self will be coming out. So I guess where the things work best is when your personal brand or your product brand is in line with your personality, because then you will have a consistent message on Blab.
Well, I've been kind of waiting for people to chime in here and maybe comment. So if you have questions, by all means, add the comments in there, and we'll be actually bringing you on a little bit later to ask questions on the actual Blab here. But Lee Olives, he had a comment. He mentioned that he gets annoyed with all the telemarketing Blabs, and so. Okay. I guess I've been fairly lucky. I haven't been on too many Blabs where it's been all telemarketing type Blabs, but I'm wondering what you have to say to that. When he says telemarketing, I'm guessing like
sales.
Oh, he says he sees them all the time. I'm guessing maybe you can maybe elaborate on that. Don't join in. Oh, he said, don't join in on the telemarketing Blabs. I'm thinking.
Okay. So do you mean the ones that they sell stuff on Blab?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
They sell themselves. They sell themselves. Well, I don't know. I mean, when you're trying to get visibility online, you pretty much, maybe indirectly, but you're still selling yourself. You can phrase it that way, let's say, but it all depends on how you're doing it. So the skillful people who are like really good at that do it so that people can't even notice. So in any case, my personal position is that no matter whether you have anything to sell or not, in any case, no matter what kind of Blab you are doing, your Blab has to provide value and has to be valuable to people. So when people are coming in there for an hour or for half an hour or whatever it is, the last thing you want them to feel when they are leaving is that they, wasted their time. So, if you are having a value-packed Blab and you're providing loads of value, most probably without even asking and without even promoting your services and yourself, people will get so much value that they would like to get connected with you and ask for some more. And then you can kind of go back and say, okay, I have more. If you're interested, here is where you can go and get more details, etc., or work with me one-on-one, etc. But when the main purpose of your Blab is actually just, the content itself is just selling that thing that is the follow-up of what you are supposed to do, then it becomes kind of, a sales pitch. And people usually, unless they're specifically interested in what you are offering or very interested in yourself, then they wouldn't waste time on listening to your sales speech. So I guess it's kind of provide value, provide content that is of use to your audience, and later on at the end you can have a very short 1 minute kind of or even leave a link, and people, if they want, they will follow. But if it's the whole thing is around that and only about that, then of course it's just a waste of time.
I couldn't agree more. And real quick, I'm going to ask this. Let me see, Jusquito. Yeah, thank you very much for stopping. I know that may be a form of advertising, your little thing there, but I really appreciate it. I appreciate the 13,000 props, but yeah, thank you for stopping that. And I couldn't agree with you more. One of the biggest things that I can't stand is being sold to. But I will tell you this, I do enjoy, I feel good when I purchase something that's going to be helping me out. And there's a big difference in that. And that's one of the foundations of Blab here. And it's it's the way that you deliver it. So I want to mirror what you said by providing value, and exactly why I wanted to invite you today to come on, because what you've done is amazing. And so for people that are looking, anybody that's online that wants to share, they're trying to develop their business, they're trying to do whatever they can, you need certain tools in order to do so. But there's a thin line. Okay, how do I share what I've developed with people or my experience with people without sounding like a salesy person, right? That's a really hard thing to do, but it's necessary. It's necessary because there's no way, like the show that I have on here is all about podcasting, and I basically answer questions. I don't sell anything, but what I'm finding is people are asking me, how can I help you? Right? They're asking me this. And so I really think it's important when you come across something that can help somebody out to share that with people, and not doing it in a salesy way is difficult. But I think I don't even want to call it a necessary evil. I think this is just necessary. What you've done is so impressive. I just have to tell you that. And there he goes again. I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to boot you out of here, buddy. I am so sorry. Yeah, I apologize to everybody for that. I hate doing that. But I'm wondering maybe if you can maybe start talking about, you said you've taken your podcast, and if anybody in here is a podcaster, it takes a lot of time to produce an episode. For me, it takes, I don't know, about an hour and a half to 2 hours, from getting it uploaded and typing out the show notes and sharing it. And then you go on to share it more throughout the week, right? To get more listeners and share your story. But that being said, what you've done from Blab is you've taken 2 shows a week and you've reduced that to 1 because now you have so many more listeners because of what you've done on Blab.
Yeah, I mean, I have to make a disclaimer. Most probably, I mean, if you are a podcaster, you know that if you have been doing it for quite a long time and you have a big backlist there, like, I have more than 100 episodes. So most probably when you are getting a new subscriber, each time each new subscriber kind of, gets this huge spike of traffic because they download all the back episodes that you had from the very start. So I was getting these sparks without realizing what's happening. How come, I never had so many downloads per day before? And then that's what I realized. So most probably what was happening was that I was getting new subscribers who were kind of, in the very beginning, they were creating these spikes of all the back episodes downloading to their mobiles or tablets, actually, and that's why it was kind of, I was getting these huge differences. And later on, once you already have more subscribers, of course, all the upcoming episodes get automatically downloaded. So you have this base like minimum, which has been grown eventually. So since I had already pretty much used my social media channels before and was getting this certain very small, growth from there, the largest growth came from Blab because it was a completely new area for me and it was a completely new audience. So I guess, it happened fast and I ended up with more people getting from Blab was because no one had seen me on Blab before. So it actually, I was kind of, presenting to a completely new audience who were kind of, none of them were my subscribers. So I wasn't really kind of, recurring and revisiting the ones I already had. So I guess that's why the effect was so big.
Perfect. And then can you talk to people? So let me just try and see if I understand this correctly. You were doing one thing over here. And then with Blab, and you had your audience already established, you started on Blab and you started finding all these new people that you could talk to. And maybe you found a something that worked for you. And so what you did is, in essence, shared your story with others in the form of a way to help them out for how to maximize their opportunity when they get on Blab. Is that correct?
Well, yeah, I guess why it worked was that when I got on Blab, I was covering the topics which were in line with my topics, my messages, which were the things that I cover usually on my podcast for my podcast audience. So eventually I ended up with people coming to my Blabs and people following me who were interested in those topics. So later on, once they were getting... Is this my echo?
Yes. What's wrong?
Okay. It's gone. Okay. So eventually what happened was that all these people who were interested in that topic, in order to learn more about those things, were going and visiting my podcast. And when I'm saying that you have to have one core message and one type of branding, and people should know what you are about when they see you on Blab, is they knew that I'm a podcaster and I work with writers and I have a podcast for writers, and everything we were talking about were things that were valuable to writers. So eventually was what's going on? Okay, so eventually all...
Can you hear? Are you hearing a background noise or something like that?
I'm hearing my echo very loud. I don't know if you guys can hear that too.
I can't hear an echo. That's really strange.
Okay, if only I'm hearing it, it's fine. I'm okay with that.
Okay, but I did want to ask you one question, real fast. Let me see here. It's coming in, and it's from Melissa Reyes, and she asked, "What topics do you cover?"
Okay, so I'm covering everything that newbie writers need to know related to writing, self-publishing, and book marketing. So we are covering a lot of stuff related to Kindle and Amazon Kindle publishing. We do a lot of kind of encouragement and emotional support for writers who struggle and have writer's jobs and stuff like that. So we really motivate them and cover the emotional side of things. And I also interview many successful authors who share their experiences, who tell what worked, what didn't work, how did they get there, their stories and stuff like that. So it's basically the practical knowledge on one side and emotional support and encouragement and inspiration on the other side.
Fantastic. Does it help when I mute my mic? Do you hear
Yeah.
Okay, good. So I'll continue to mute my mic when you talk there. So I apologize. I don't know why it's giving me feedback, but anyways, I'll just ask one more thing. I wonder if maybe you can talk a little bit about Blab traction and what that is.
Okay, so now we get to the most difficult part, when I'm already a bit cautious after the comments we were receiving about Blab being salesy. So I don't know how to approach this, but actually when I started with Blab and I was trying to get my existing audience to come and participate in Blab, usually, because first of all, I was very, very curious about who my listeners were on a podcast, because as a podcaster, you know that, you see the statistics, you know that people listen to you, but not always. You only know people who have approached you at some point, and you don't really know who these people are so well. So what I was trying was, I was using my podcast episode intros to actually tell them that there is a such thing as Blab, and I've tried it, I really love it, and from now on, part of my podcast interviews will be recorded live on Blab. If you want to participate to that, and become part of the podcast and become part of the recording, just come over and join us. So basically what I was trying to do was I was trying to get the people from my podcast to Blab. And And later on, I was also trying to get my interviewees to Blab. So I was going to record my interviews on Blab live. And every time I was getting people like, telling people about Blab, everyone was like, what is that? And how it works and stuff like that. So then they were trying it and they really started liking Blab, and they wanted to use it too for their different purposes. I mean, not everyone was podcasters. Some were writers. Some had their own online business and stuff like that. So I ended up getting all these different questions about, how to use that, the technical part, then how to use it in order to grow your audience, how to use it in order to grow your email list. Have you tried this? Have you tried that? How does it work for you? And stuff like that. So I realized that I was actually repeating all the, frequently asked questions and explaining the same thing over and over again. And then I recalled that since like almost 2 years, I always kind of thought I heard a lot about these Udemy courses, online courses, all this passive income stuff and things like that. And I always wanted to try to make an online course, but I never knew how to do that, how the technical part works. Is it complicated? Is it, not? And how to create a membership site and stuff like that. So eventually I had a little bit of free time. So I said, why not? Let's just, create a course where I cover all the questions that people are asking me over and over again. So when someone takes that course, he goes through what I have done myself, and eventually, hopefully, gets similar good results for their brand and for their business. So what I did was I recorded, I think right now it's a little bit more than 2.5 hours of videos, like from the start until the end, about everything I have understood and realized how things works on Blab and what were the things that I've done that worked best so far, and created a course out of it. So I kind of, for me, it was a really nice experience because first of all, I finally did a course, which I always wanted to do and I always procrastinated. And second, now there is a place where there are so many people who are asking questions that I can send them to and tell, okay, all your answers are there. And if there are some questions that are not covered there yet, I will eventually, record more videos and add it to the thing. So it will eventually be growing. So, and also there were many people who were asking me to co-host a Blab that they were organizing. So I decided that it would be cool to add as a bonus that, I will co-host a Blab with you if you get the course. And I will also make a one-on-one kind of half an hour consultation about your specific needs, like, what you want exactly to do with Blab for your needs, for your brand. So that's how the idea came. I created it. I haven't been promoting it, to be honest, because I'm very lousy at sales and I'm very afraid to sound salesy. So in my own blabs, I've never even mentioned it so far. So that's how Blab Traction was created. And Charlotte here is one of the students of Blab Traction.
Yeah, I saw that. It was nice of her to record it there. And again, I apologize if you're getting the echo on here. It has something to do with my connection. I'm really sorry for that. But I can empathize with you big time on how hard it is to share something like this. But it's very seldom. And if you can go back and look at all of my postings and all of my blabs and shows, I do not do this. I can empathize with, people like Lee, about getting salesy and stuff like that. I'm the same as you. I feel very uncomfortable with it. However, on this particular item, on this particular topic you're discussing, what you did was amazing, and I really think it will help a lot of people out. And so I want to be able to toot your horn a little bit, if that's okay with you, because
Sure.
Some of the things you did a 60-day experiment. You doubled your podcast downloads. You brought 1,500 new Twitter followers, which is just amazing. You grew your email list by 200 new subscribers, and you also brought in additional high-end clients for your business. And that's all directly related to Blab. So I think
Yeah.
that's pretty doggone cool. I mean, congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you. I think it's easy because the things that I'm doing are very personality related, and I guess Blab is the best place to kind of showcase your personality. I mean, if people are going to work with you, they better know you better. And I guess that, here it's the best place where you can actually show who you are, because you can't be anyone else on Blab.
Yeah, it's so true. I'm wondering if I'd love to invite people to look at it. If people are interested, I'd be more than happy. I'm gonna paste a link here as well. If you want to take some time and check it out, by all means, go check it out. I think you'll really, really, really get an idea of what she's done and how she's it's just amazing to me. It really is. That being said, though, I'd like to open it up. So if anybody wants to come on and ask some questions about Blab, now is the time. You can come on in and ask some questions. And I know we did say that we were going to be on 30 minutes, but my fault. I had some technical issues in the very beginning. So if you want to come on board and ask some questions, Ms. can't come in because she's at work. Don't be afraid to come on. I know sometimes it's a little challenging to come on and do the video thing, but if you have any questions, and Charlotte, here we go. We have one. Charlotte.
Hello there, Charlotte.
Oh, we can't hear you.
No sound.
Yeah,
we can't hear you, Charlotte.
You can probably hear us, but we can't hear you. Is your microphone muted?
Try to restart your browser again and get in. Try one more time. Just close your browser, open it again, and try one more time. Maybe it will work.
Reboot the computer there. There we go. So there we go. Here we go. Inspirational expert.
Sandra.
Awesome.
Sandra is awesome, by the way. Hello, Sandra.
How are you, I had to jump in because I met Annie last week on the Blab 168, I think it was. And so congratulations, Annie, that you're taking your knowledge and your gifts and sharing them on Blab, and with the course and everything else that you do. I just admire that. And you know what? It does take courage to step up and say, I think I kind of have something to share, but I'm not really sure how. And then just to put it out there. And so I'm the inspirational expert. I call myself that. And I had posted a couple of things on the side. So you guys are talking about, like, and Annie just said it, I feel weird. Like, now it's my time for you to tell people about what I have. And guess what, people? I solved the damn problem because I hate it too. So my mother and I have taken Amazon and QVC and married them. They're now called blabshopping.com. So people are going to come in here and sell their products, but it's not going to be like, here's the iPhone, click on my link, and there's 2 left. It's tell me a freaking story about the iPhone. I want to know what's behind this. Tell me about the product. Tell me a story. Click on the side and buy the person's product. And then for people like Annie and other people that have courses and ebooks, yes, they feel icky. It sucks. I don't like it either. So they can come in and they can say, Annie just did it perfectly. This is the reason why I created this course. I wanted to share and teach others. And then, and I'm pretty sure Charlotte was going to come in and be a testimonial, but people like Charlotte can come in and say, I took Annie's course. I love it. This is what it taught me. So damn, that's selling. But you know what? It's not icky. I'm going to open up all the windows. I want to invite people in. I want to start with product and then go to service because it's Christmas time and Hanukkah and people are looking for gifts. So I'm starting, we're calling it Blab Friday, and I'm going to be with my mom. And Annie, if you have products to sell, I know that you just have a new wine collection that you just came out with, Annie. Yeah, we'll keep that a secret. Shh. Annie's magical potion. Don't tell anyone about the wine yet. That's launching Friday. But if you have products to sell, I would love to invite you in here. And then eventually when we do services, to have Annie and other people. Jamie, I'm sure you probably have things that you can offer us. Because my Blab at 9:30 was your value equals your trademark. And that's really what this Blab is about. Annie has so many valuable things to share, her experience. She's a trademark. No one is like her, right? There can be 10 other people that are kind of like Annie, but they're not exactly like her. So I just couldn't wait to come in and share this. And I hope that that it inspires you to join us and sell your products and then eventually your services. And congratulations on your course. And thank you, Jamie, for setting this up. This is awesome.
Thank you. I love that idea.
You.
Great for doing what you're doing. I'm sure you're going to have lots of success. I can't wait until you start because I'm sure it will be really great.
I hope so. I'm looking forward to it. And I know that, us entrepreneurs like to take problems and solve them. And all I kept hearing, I hear it overnight in my head, Jamie. It's icky. I hate selling. I hate all the crap that people do on Blab. I hate. So I'm like, you know what? You hate it? Then come do it here. I'll open the box up and reveal the product. I'll bring it to life. Then you're going to come in and tell a story. And someone on my last show, when I was talking about it, they were like, people are actually going to be buying stuff they don't need because they like the story. And I'm like, isn't that what selling is all about? And that's so
absolutely.
I'm excited.
We always buy things we don't need anyway. So we better do it nicely.
I know, but I love the story and it's all about the story. I love your accent. I love that you're from another country and you don't even seem like you're fitting right into this American blab thing. So I really, I just wanted to hop in. I think I posted on the side, I'm jumping out of my seat. I was and I said, if they invite people in, I'll stop in and tell people that I have the problem solver to the icky selling is coming soon. Blab Shop. There's a link in the side, but it doesn't go to anything. But I registered the website too. So thank you so much. It was great to know you and get to learn more about you the other day, Annie. And that's what it's all about on Blab is relationships and teaming up. Maybe we can team up together and do something sometime soon. So
absolutely. That's great. About Blab, that you get the chance to team up and do really awesome stuff with great people. Yeah. That's kind of,
I love it.
It doesn't happen everywhere. So
yeah, I love it. So hopefully I inspired you a little. I have to prepare for my 17-person turkey dinner, which I'm supposed to be doing now. But I saw Annie and I'm like, oh my God, I got to go in and say hi. So nice to meet you, Jamie, too. I'll follow you, Jamie, and spread the word. And have a great holiday.
Bon appetit.
Bye, guys.
Bon appetit. Bye.
Bon appetit.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's awesome. It's so cool because when you do stuff like this, it is a little challenging. It's so nice to see the different reinforcement, come back and you have a nice group of people, and it just goes to show, how incredible you are. And I've been following you for a while. And again, great job on what you've done. It's super, super, super impressive. And does anybody else have any questions for Ani?
You had one question in the window, right? It's gone. What did you do? You're muted.
What is your advice for promoting?
Okay, so I guess you should start with what you already have. So if you have any, online presence on social media, you should definitely use those channels. Also, if you're just starting out, I would actually start with someone who is, usually what I'm advising is when you're getting just, in the very beginning to Blab, you should do a little bit of research to see who are there already from your area, what you are about. So if I'm doing things related to writing, I usually do research to see who are doing blabs about writing, who are writers who are also blabbing, and what kind of topics about writing there are in the recorded versions of the blabs, who were watching those blabs, like who were participating in the chats and stuff like that. That will give you a approximate idea about where your niche stands at Blab. Is it big? Is it small? Who are the ones who are known in that niche already? And I will try to make some connections with them. And when the connection is made, I would most probably do my very first Blab with someone from that niche who already has a certain audience. So like that, you will leverage their audience and yours, and that person will help you with spreading the word about the Blab, and then you will get more visibility from the very start, and people will see you. And later on, that first blab will be easier to promote. So,
so can I ask a question on like a follow-up question? So I can see how you it's the same way that we met. We met through Facebook. And so one of the questions that she was asking was how to promote your blab and get more viewership. So that might be kind of what you talked about. I'm wondering, when you look to get more viewership, are you kind of individually, kind of grassroots level, reaching out to people that have existing audiences, or are you maybe posting generally on Facebook and Twitter and things like that? Or how are you getting your viewership?
I do both, actually. I use my social media presence, so I post it on Facebook, on Twitter, and if it's something really big and has been scheduled, in advance, I may announce it in my podcast even. So I'm kind of, trying to get and leverage what I already have in terms of audience. But I also collaborate with many people. So I co-host blabs with other people. So I leverage their audience as well. And if those people are well known on Blab in terms of audience, so if they have many followers, when they get on air, their followers see them on air. So many may come not because they know me, because they might not, but because they know you, for example, and vice versa. So it's kind of, these kind of co-hostings, especially if my topic and your topics were really close to each other, like let's say both of us are podcasters, and if we spoke about podcasting, or if we spoke about our podcast topics and they were the same, then we would kind of, have a double chance of getting, bigger audience than if we did it by ourselves.
She goes on to say, and I apologize, I shouldn't say she. Melissa goes on to say that her problem is that when she started on Blab, she was building a big following, but now that there are so many more people here that she finds it less and less are coming to her live shows. And so I think I can understand where she's coming from, because the more people there, I think it's going to thin out the different niches. And so it's going to be harder to keep your message going. But here's my advice, and then please let people, or here's what I think, and then Ani, if you can elaborate. I think that once you get started, keep it consistent, and you'll see it kind of do this a little bit, especially on new platforms, and it might even go down before it finally goes up. But if you maintain that consistency, that show time every week, and you publish as soon as you're done with one show, you publish it for that next week, or however many times you're doing it, but stick with it, because you're going to see it kind of go all over the place, but then it'll start going up, I think. And we just haven't had enough time, especially on Blab, to actually see all that craziness happen. We're experiencing the craziness right now, but then I think eventually you'll start seeing it going up, because those people that are early adopters will establish all the authority. People will come on and check it out, and they may get to say, oh, there's less and less people coming. It's not really a good platform for me. But if you stick with it, you'll see that all of a sudden you'll start getting that audience back. That's what I think and I believe. And by the way, you're number one for the hour. By the way, Ani, on Blab there for on-air shows. So good job. But I thought maybe if you could follow this up and elaborate on that.
I would kind of, continue and say that when you say consistency, I usually use consistency in both respects. First of all, in being consistent on being regular with, the time and the frequency you're doing your shows. And the second, I would be consistent in terms of content, like, what topics are you covering? When these two consistencies get together, you really have this powerful show where you cover the same type of topics for the same type of audience at a regular basis. And then it kind of starts piling up, and you have people who are revisiting and coming to your show over and over again. So you get this loyal audience. Plus, they also start spreading the word, and their friends who are also interested in similar topics get invited, and it slowly grows, and with the time it gets bigger. Like, for example, my podcast, when I say it doubled, I'm podcasting for more than a year. So for the last 5 months, my podcast was very stable. It was really great because I had a stable, loyal, listenership, but it wasn't growing. It was at the same level. And so, I didn't stop doing it. I was kind of, keeping for more than a year. I used the same schedule all the time, and I kept producing the episodes no matter what the stats were. So for 5 months, it was completely the same. And then it kind of, in 2 months later on, it doubled. So it's really about consistency in terms of, regular content, and in terms of what kind of content you are producing.
I have a question, and it comes from, let me see, where is it at Today's Celebrate. He asked a question, let me see here. Oh, is it backwards to start on Blab, then move on to other platforms? Or she asked, I apologize. Celebrate who you are. I don't have a name, I'm sorry.
Okay, so starting from Blab and then moving to other platforms, is that it?
Yes.
I think it can be done, and it may even work better, because right now, since Blab is pretty small, related to the others, it's much easier to gain visibility on Blab than on Facebook and Twitter, for example, or Instagram. So in that respect, yes, you can start from Blab, get the visibility, get the loyal audience, and then kind of take them to your other channels if you have those.
Perfect. I just wanted to be clear too that you do have to create those channels first before you start on Blab, so that because Blab is associated with Twitter, so you actually have to create a Twitter account first. But I'd recommend a Facebook too, because those are the two accounts that are synced up right here on the dashboard, so that you can, when you're starting to build your audience, you can just click on the tell the little bird, which if you can, I appreciate that. If you can tell the little bird there about our topic discussion today, and you can also share it on Facebook. But the really cool thing is, and I go back to the Blab Traction course that Ani talks about or is offering. She brought 1,500 new Twitter followers because of what she did here on Blab. So
yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah, well, actually, if you pay attention, like let's say there is really popular Blab going on, a host is like a huge star and people are actually gathering around him. The topic is interested. You have about 70 live viewers, let's say. So when you are getting the chance of getting on that Blab in a window when people are being invited, and if you provide value and telling things that are providing value to your audience, eventually what happens is most probably part of those 70 people who are watching you live will follow you. Later on, what happens is when they tell a little bird and tweet it out, and if it's a popular blog, they will tweet it out a lot. Then if you are in the live window, if you're one of the talkers there, then your Twitter handle is being mentioned there in each single tweet. And then when it gets retweeted, it kind of, doubles and triples and stuff like that. So eventually, if you end up into several popular blabs in the same day, you are getting this huge visibility of your Twitter handle on Twitter going out and being retweeted and kind of spreading around. And that's how, and if it's associated with a big name or with a very interesting topic, then most probably people who notice that will check your Twitter profile out to see who you are and eventually follow you.
I have two questions here, but one kind of goes off a little bit of topic, and so I will come back to that, and that is from Melissa. But we just had another question, and it's from Jace, and he asked, what is the greatest accomplishment that you can attribute to Blab, or just one platform?
Okay. Well, I guess it's not really an accomplishment, but I guess that with Blab, I reached out to much more people than with any other platform. So eventually I gained visibility. I mean, later on, some people liked me, some people didn't. Some people eventually worked with me. Some people listened to my podcast. Some people thought that, what Ani is doing is not good, etc. But the eventual initial visibility of being out there and having many people seeing you at the same time and finding out who you are and what you are about, I guess that's an accomplishment, because eventually it leads to certain things. So that getting that itself is not very easy, and Blab is very good at that, I guess.
Okay, and then going back to the other question with Melissa, she says, Ani, where do you host your podcast? I was posting to iTunes with Blueberry, but I have almost given up on that to just do Blab and YouTube. So I guess this is kind of Blab topic, but it's a little bit off.
Yeah. Okay. Well, many podcasters were so enthusiastic about Blab that they eventually decided either not to launch their podcast on their own feed and do everything on Blab, or eventually do everything on Blab, and kind of, keep their own podcast like as a secondary thing. I'm recording only part of my podcast on Blab, not all of them. And my Blab is still, my podcast still has my own feed, which is hosted on Libsyn. And the reason for that is, first of all, I want to have the total control of my feed. So I don't really want to depend on any other thing, any other platform. And it's very important for me. Second is that I have many people who, like me in the past, are not very comfortable with being on video. So first of all, I don't feel like pushing them being recorded on video and interacting with my audience if they don't feel like that. And second, even if I do, I will end up with a worse quality interview, because these people will not open up as much as they are used to with just an audio recording. So for me, it's like, Blab helps a lot with my podcast, but it doesn't replace it completely. My podcast is still there. I still have things that are only on the podcast. I repurpose the content from Blab for the podcast as well, but I keep them separate. You're muted.
Sorry. Yeah, sorry about that. So I had, it looks like we have someone trying to come in, but I'm not sure. They just have an egg. So normally I don't accept those. Yeah. So yeah, that's one of the things on Blab. If you see the little icon where they haven't really filled out a profile or anything like that, a lot of time it's someone coming in to kind of market and interrupt the show. That's just been my experience. And while I hate not being able to accept some people, I really want to keep the message on topic and that kind of thing. Sure. So if you guys does anybody else have any questions, because I know Ani has to get going, but if you have any other questions, please feel free to ask away. Jump on. We can let this go for about another 5 minutes or so, and feel free to ask your questions. If you do, I'll go ahead and tweet it out to everybody. All of my followers will get it. All of Ani's followers get it. We'll get this thing going here. And I just want to mention one more time about Blab Traction. It's the new course that Ani has come up with, where you can see her 60 days experiment using Blab, where she doubled her podcast downloads. She brought 1,500 new Twitter followers. She grew her email list by over 200 new subscribers, and she brought some new high-end clients for her online business. So pretty doggone impressive, if you ask me. And again, I want to toot her horn again, because when I saw that, I said, oh my gosh, we got to do this. So any other questions? It looks like Melissa wants to invite you to her show, Tinseltown, with Ms. Melise every Tuesday at 7 p.m. So she's on Blab. And see, that's a good example. She has a show once a week, so she's maintaining that consistency. I think that's really important. And so, Ani, I guess there's no more questions here. Do you want to close it out?
Well, if there are no questions, yeah.
No questions? Any questions? Going once, going twice, 3 times? No more questions. We went over a little bit, and so thank you very much for sticking with us and making Ani the #1 show in the hour. That was awesome. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Ani, how do people get in touch with you?
Okay, so my website is anialexander.com. I'll type it in there. And yeah, so there you can see all my social channels and the podcast and anything I usually write and put there, my books. Yeah, so. You're muted.
Sorry, your Twitter is Ani_lifeprob. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And then is there any other, what's your Facebook?
Okay, so my Facebook is, let's see, what's my Facebook?
We did get a question. Here. I haven't seen anybody doing blabs on Spanish. What do you think about that? Is this going to be a platform used also by Hispanic people?
Well, I've seen few. They aren't many, but there are few. I mean, my observations with Blab is usually like this. Vast majority are from the US, the European time zone, which I am at approximately. I'm like around 3 hours ahead of them. But in that part, we are getting mostly people from the UK. And all the rest are very few. And there are some Australians around and lots of Moroccan people, which is surprising, but that's how it is. So all the other, apart from the UK, all the other European countries and languages are not very active yet. So it's, I guess, if you would like to get involved, most probably you will have to do a little bit of work of promoting the idea of Blab among your people, because right now there aren't many here yet.
And it looks like we have one more question. Ani, you took Cliff Ravencraft's podcasting course. Is that correct?
No, I didn't. Actually, what I did was I met Meron Barakat from Podcast Incubator, and I started watching his free video courses before I became a Podcast Incubator member, and just purely based on the free videos, and I got connected with him and he helped me a lot. I launched my podcast in only 3 weeks. I'm part of the Podcast Incubator family. We call ourselves family because we are very kind of close to each other and very helpful. So yes, Meron Barakat and Podcast Incubator, that's what I used and that's what I recommend.
Fantastic. Well, if there are not any more questions, we've gone over here, so I do have to get going, but I want to say thank you to everybody that was involved and participated in the discussion. And Ani, one more time, I would like to send you a shout out to blabtraction.anialexander.com. That is the website for your new product on how to properly market with Blab. I think it's an incredible story. If you go to that page that I put in the link here, if you go to that page, you can actually see literally what happened over a 60-day time period with Ani. So hats off to you. Good job. That was awesome.
Thank you. Thanks a lot for having me over, and thanks for everyone who watched.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, everybody. Well, I'll definitely be resharing this, and you can check it out. If you want to tell a little bird one more time, by all means, send it out there. And definitely go over to blabtraction.anialexander.com. Check it out. It really, really is worthwhile at least looking into. I highly recommend it. So thank you.
Thanks. Thank you. Bye.
All right. All right. Bye, everyone.